Gatorama is one of the last surviving roadside tourist attractions. I think there are only 17 of the roadside tourist attractions that were established before the opening of Disney World that are still operating. And so back when we bought Gatorama, Cypress Knee Museum was still open. And so Tom Gaskins, that wonderful character that lived down there on the corner, was a neighbor of ours.
What had happened is Mr. Clemens, the former owner, old Cecil had just run out of gas, and he just couldn't run it anymore. He wanted out of here pretty bad, and he made me a deal I just couldn't refuse. So that's how I came up buying Gatorama.
Sometimes I think that it would be easier to bulldoze it all down and start all over again. But then you would miss that quirkiness that is Gatorama. And so I like old stuff, so we'll keep it and work with what we have.
The first time I discovered Tom Gaskin was on the way to an art show in Winter Park, going up to Highway 27. And he had all these great Burma shape signs, and they were built out of driftwood and such. And one of them said, if you don't stop, your husband won't stop. Take your shoe off and hit him in the head. So Nikki threatened me. I said, okay, we'll stop. Well, you'll see that this is just another typical Florida tourist place, right? So we stopped and went in his little gift shop, and he had all the typical stuff, plus cypress knee lamps and cypress knees clocks, and but he did have his turkey calls. He was famous, excuse me, for his turkey calls. And Tom was seeing I was getting bored, because Nikki likes all that stuff, you know. So he says, well, going back and we have a boardwalk, take you back in the cypress swamp. I said, oh, that sounds good, because I don't want to get involved with gators and snakes and all that stuff's in the swamp. Seen on television and movies, you know, gators eating people and such. So I went back and discovered it was a boardwalk. Not a big boardwalk, but a boardwalk made out of the trees. It's a little shaky, but get me out of the water. And it had been a wet season, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Florida's one of those places you have to get off, out of the car, get into the woods. And this enabled me to get into the woods. And then it went down into, actually the very end of it had a nice little platform where you could sit and just relax, because it actually had probably maybe 8-foot square platform. And I just got, this reminds me of the Redwood Forest, California. So the next day I came back with my camera and started photographing it. That was my first really introduction to the real Florida. And I think without that, it would take a few more years for me to get into the Florida Everglades and the swamps and big cypress, and it was a really important part of my life.
Tom Gaskin had been invited by Johnny Carson to come out to Los Angeles to be on television. Tom was a great hit. He was one of the characters that Johnny Carson had on TV, and he lived up to that reputation.
Tom was very enthusiastic guy, and actually in very good health. I mean, this guy was strong. He goes around the swamp barefoot. And one time I was back photographing in the woods there, and after I got used to being in the water, I was in the water this time, all of a sudden he comes running through the swamp in the water. And he says, look at this, and he goes and climbs a palm tree. This is in the 70s, you know. And of course, when you were in the museum, he'd have to tell you how he does all these things. He was so enthusiastic about the cypress and the cypress knees and how all the things that life. He was a very intelligent man. Like for instance, when he built his house, he used palm trees to build the house. But a palm tree has this, it'll suck water up. So he turns the palm trees upside down. I mean, this is, you know, he's a smart character.